Hi guys.
Hello.
I'm Jacqueline Malocu, as you know, from Dream Team Academy, and this is Wedding Camp. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today is building your portfolio with purpose. Because I think a lot of times what we do is we start putting pretty pictures in our portfolio and we forget why we're putting them in there, and we're like, oh, this is a beautiful shot, but it might not be something that we would ever really photograph in real life. Or we have a lot of images in our portfolio and we're attracting a certain kind of bride and we don't understand why that same bride keeps calling us over and over and over again. And we're like, this is not the kind of wedding I want to be doing. So I just kind of equivocated. I am not a photographer. I am a hair and makeup artist. I've been in hair and makeup for, I hate to say how long, but it's been a really, really long time. And I had a salon for 23 years, and in 2007, I started a hair and makeup business on site for weddings and special occasions. So I've been in the wedding industry since 2007 and pretty much been doing production since I was a teenager in high school, like theater and that kind of thing. So to be honest with you, when styled shoots started out, I wasn't on board at all, because I was like, that's so fake. Why would someone stage a wedding or stage a shoot? And I think that that's like a common misconception with a lot of people. They think that if they shoot a styled shoot, they're not really showing their true work, or someone might not want to hire them if they have a lot of styled shoots in their album. But the way that I look at it is, if you're staying true to your authentic voice in your brand, then it's okay to do styled shoots, because you're gonna maybe get to do work that you wouldn't otherwise do. So if you don't want to do barn weddings and the only people calling you are barn weddings, and that's what you have to show in your portfolio, those are the people that are going to call you. So the only way to get around that is to do a styled shoot that is not in a barn, or maybe an upscale barn, so that you start attracting a different kind of bride. So what I started to say earlier is I kind of equivocated in hair. Like, if you didn't want to do ballroom hair, you just didn't want to do these ballroom styles of hair, but that's all you kept getting called for, and you wanted to do the boho braids and that kind of thing and be more earthy, then you need to get out and put that in your portfolio so that people can see that. So really it just all comes back to knowing what your brand is, knowing who your client is, knowing who you want to attract, and how you're going to attract those clients. So I gave you each a copy of the ultimate checklist for styled shoots. This is something that I did kind of like as a little passion project. When I finally came around to the world of styled shoots, I had some friends who kept asking me to do styled shoots, and I kept saying, no, we're booked. By that point, we were doing between 55 and 60 weddings a year. So I was saying, I don't need to do a styled shoot because we don't need more clients. But what I wasn't realizing was I could really fine-tune the kind of client that we attracted. So I did the first styled shoot, and after that, I was completely hooked. And since I found what it can do for your portfolio, I really felt like it was important to share with other people. So that's kind of what this styled shoot guide is. And I just wanted to go over some of the points in it, because they're really the core of Dream Team Academy, which is my education business now, and that's what Wedding Camp is a part of Dream Team Academy. So the first thing is purpose, having purpose in your business, and thinking through your business. This refers to a styled shoot, but it can refer to anything in your business. So when you start thinking about your business, there are 4 different things inside the purpose of your business. The first thing that you want to know is what your values are. So these are things that are not written in your outline. If you want to write on your outline, you totally can write notes. But I think that finding your values in your business is super, super important. So your values would be things that really evoke passion in yourself. So for example, if family is really, really important to you, you might want to write that down, and then you might start attracting clients who are more family oriented, especially if you kind of weave that into your brand. The second thing is knowing who your ideal client is. So just really knowing, like, who is my ideal client? What am I, where does she work? Where does she live? Have you guys all done ideal client work? Have you done any like avatar exercises or anything like that to kind of identify your ideal client? Some yes, some no. I mean, it's really hard. When I first started out, it was super, super hard for me to identify who my ideal client was, because people are like, oh, I know my ideal client, and I know who she is, how many kids she has, where she works, all of that. And the very first time it ever really clicked with me was I was listening to one of my mentors, and she was talking about a friend of hers. And she said, you know, she's a soap maker, she makes soaps, and she goes to the market like one Saturday a month and sells them. I know if you met her, you would really love her. And she was just telling me all about her friend. And she's like, I really can't wait for you to meet her. And then at the end, she's like, but she doesn't exist. She's my ideal client. And I was just like, wow, that makes so much sense to me, because it should be somebody who loves everything that you do and really gets you. So imagine if you had a client who you could do no wrong for. Like, wouldn't that feel awesome? So I think just being able to create from that point and knowing that the things you're creating are gonna be something that your client loves. And if they don't, it's okay. You can kind of go back and tweak it a little bit, but just kind of operating from that point rather than always striving to create something for your difficult client. Because I think sometimes we get in that rut where we're like, oh, this one client, I can never please her. What can I change about my business to please her? Well, maybe she's just not your ideal client, and maybe you don't need to please her, because there's like a billion other people who could be your ideal client. So that's the one of the 4 things. And then the benefits. Like, you need to know, sorry, let me back up, your superpowers. Have you guys heard of having superpowers? Like, I believe everybody has a superpower. For example, your superpower might be connecting with people, or it might be seeing all the details or whatever. But I think it's really important to identify what those special things are about yourself and really bring that out to your client and say, this is what I can do for you, because then you're gonna find you're working from a place of joy rather than struggle. So you're gonna be able to deliver your best self, you're gonna show your authentic voice, you're gonna attract the clients that you want, and then you're gonna have the benefits, which is the 4th part of purpose. And I have a whole course on this, and you guys probably received it in an email. It's called A Powerful Purpose. If you haven't had a chance to go look at it and work through it, I would definitely do that, because it will really help you get solid on your portfolio. But that just kind of brings all the things together. So like, your values, your superpowers, who your ideal client is, and then this is what I'm delivering to you. And when you can really speak to your client like that and say, I know this is what I have for you, and I know this is what I can give to you, they're gonna walk away so happy, because they're gonna be like, I got exactly what I signed up for. She didn't tell me she was gonna give me this, and then I walked away and I was like, wow, that was nothing like I expected. You know what I mean? So I think just putting all those things together is really important. And I actually did a course with this ultimate checklist and tried to teach purpose in a really short period of time, and realized, like, with those 4 components, it really does take a little bit of inner work. But if you guys have any questions about any of that, I'd be happy to talk to you about it, because I know that sometimes you have to dig a little bit deep to find exactly who you want to be and who you want to portray to your clients, so that you can really be happy doing what you're doing. I think it's super important to do that, otherwise we get burnout. The second thing on the checklist is called your vision, and this is the who, when, and where, or the inspiration of your shoot or your business as a whole. So it's kind of like, this would be the artistic details and the creative side of yourself. Like, this is what, so for example, what you see in this room was my vision. I had a vision for what I wanted to create for Woodland Symphony, and with the help of many, many wonderful creative people, I was able to bring this vision to life. It's still coming to life. Our florist hasn't been here yet, so it is still coming to life. But that's just what I mean when I talk about vision too. I love boats, so I love to think about when you get on a boat and you know what your destination is, you know where you're sailing, that's kind of like, that's your vision, or your dream goal, or whatever you want to call it. The next thing is your plan. So when you get on the boat, you have to have a map to get where you're going. Or when you take a road trip, for example, you all traveled from a decent distance to get here. Imagine if you would have got on the road and said, well, I know that I want to go to the homestead on Peanut Road, and just got in your car and started driving. You probably wouldn't have made it here. Just with that alone, like, well, I know there's a big red barn and I know it's in the middle of a field, but so you have to have a plan. And that's the same thing with your business. Like, you have to know, if this is the destination that I want to get to and these are the people I want to serve, how am I going to do it? And that's what all of us are going to help you with in the next 2 days. We are going to help you create a solid plan so that when you go home, you're not just like, well, that was a nice conference and we learned a couple things, but then you're going to go on and not do anything with it. We want to make sure that you really do implement the things that you learn here, so that your business, when you come back next year, you're going to be like, wow, my business grew so much in the last year. And even if it's not in numbers, but just in, I am now doing the kind of weddings I really want to do. I am serving the kind of people that I want to serve. So that's what our plan is for you guys. And then the last thing on here is the experience, and that's just, like I said, that's giving your client what they expect, making sure that when you say, this is what I'm gonna do, that's what they end up with. Because I feel the only time that we get bad reviews is when a client has an expectation that's not been met. And the only reason they have an expectation that's not been met is why? Right, you're not communicating clearly like what you have to offer. So I think that that's really, really important, and that's why, like I said, the whole purpose and everything and building a portfolio with purpose is so, so important. I do have a couple of little things that are kind of bonus on here. These are some things on here that you can do when you're doing a checklist, but I have a field guide in here that includes things that you can expect at a styled shoot, but also a checklist for what you can shoot. So if you take a look at that, you'll see that my checklist is a little bit different than maybe what some photographers would put on their styled shoot checklist, or on their shot list. A lot of times they'll say things like, you know, couple looking at each other, or maybe invitations, or, you know, I don't know everything that you guys put on your shot list, but one of the things that I like to try to do when I'm coming up with a shot list is, how can I incorporate people with different elements of a wedding? So one thing too that we're going to talk about a lot here in the next couple days is the fact that none of us, not you, not me, not Mallory, not Samantha, none of us could go to a wedding and do it by ourselves. If a photographer who is the most amazing photographer in the world showed up to a wedding and there was no venue and no florist, or no gowns and no makeup artist, what would the pictures look like? And I think sometimes we forget that when we're in a wedding setting. We get so into what we're doing, we get so into our own little niche and our own little world that we're like, I'm here to do a job, I want to do it well, and we forget about all the people that are around us. And I think part of the reason that really came to my attention was, as a makeup artist, I would come on site with my team, and sometimes the photographers or the videographers would come in when we're there and they didn't even acknowledge us. And I don't think it was to be rude. I just think it was like, you're in the zone and you're like, I'm here to do a job and I got to do it, and not thinking about the fact that the reason that we can all shoot beautiful things is because we work together, and like everything that we do is part of a big puzzle. So it's like all these little pieces come together to make something really amazing. So do you guys have any questions about anything I said? I just like laid it all on you there with purpose and a bunch of different things about working together, but do you have any questions for me about building a portfolio with purpose? Not yet? Okay. Well, we're going to be together for the next 2 days, so I'm sure we're going to have some roundtable discussions and some things that we talk about together. So I'm sure that there'll be plenty of time for us to talk if you do have any questions about anything that we discussed within Purpose. Like I said, I know it's a lot.